This episode of the Cult Pop Show podcast was brought to you by our Patreon.
If you want to tell us which films we should watch, get up to 2 extra exclusive podcasts a month, give us something to talk about in the post-credit scenes at the end of each episode, or even contribute to the discussion in the episode itself, then please consider joining the cult and donating at www.patreon.com/cultpopshow.
All right, let's do it, Stuart.
Very good.
I just came up with that.
Thank you for stealing that joke from me, Richard. God, you can't say one thing off pod with you, or else you'll be like, "I'm stealing that."
Yeah,
I'll save that for later.
Yeah,
you're a little high, little ho, Richard. That's what you are.
Well, I'm a little hey, little ho. So we're talking today on the Cult Pop Show podcast, which is the podcast you are listening to.
Correct.
I am one of your two hosts for this episode. My name is Richard, and I am joined by someone who goes by the name AJ.
Yes, and this is a sub-series within that podcast.
Yes, I was getting to that.
Yep.
And it's called film franchise Fortnights, and this is one episode of that subset that's part of that show. This episode is called the Stuart Little Trilogy. And because
what do we usually do?
we usually cover groups of films, we label franchises. And today, we are
Today's
covering...
no different.
Yeah, usually we do that, and we're still doing that.
What Richard and I are doing right now is a bit where it's two guys with amnesia trying to remind each other of what we're doing.
So, yeah, today on Film Franchise Fortnights, we are covering the Stuart Little trilogy of films. That's right, trilogy. I shocked a few people at work today by informing them that there is a third Stuart Little movie. Most people are familiar with the two live-action ones, which came out in 1999 and 2002. Stuart Little and Stuart Little 2. And then 3 years later, we had Stuart Little 3, Call of the Wild, which was animated and direct-to-video. All three films star Michael J. Fox as the titular Stuart Little, who's a little mouse. And I say little, not just in that he's small in stature, but that is in fact the surname of the character.
Correct. Yep. Stuart Little the Mouse. I feel like it should be called Stuart Little the Mouse. I feel like this is a franchise that has been a long time coming, to be honest with you. I think that it's one that I think makes people giggle when they check their podcast feeds and see that there's a, probably 90-minute episode talking about these movies. I think this is the type of shit people live for. Stuart Little, here we are, the Cult Pop Show men. We're 30 now. We're not little ourselves. We're all grown up.
Yeah,
and
the Cult Big Pop Show.
The Cult Bigs. Cult Big Pop Show. You know, because we're covering Stuart Little. We're here
Get it?
Get it? Do you get the joke? We're here to talk about, movies made for 9-year-olds. 3 of them. 3 movies made for 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
And we're going to take it so seriously. We're going to be using everyone's characters' names and not the actor's name.
We're not going to say, Dr. House and Thelma or Louise are married and have a mouse for a baby.
Thelma or Louise. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you which one was which.
Do you want to know which one's which?
No, I never want to know.
Now that you've said that, I'm gonna fucking tell you.
I like to think that her name is Thelma or Louise.
Yeah, well, I mean, should have the correct first name in that case, because she plays Thelma.
Oh, Richard, you didn't need to tell me. Next you'll tell me the mouse isn't real.
I know the CGI is very, very realistic, but no, the mouse is not real. But anyway, so this film came out in 1999. It's directed by a guy called Rob Minkoff. Are you familiar with that name?
It sounds like the name we've heard before on the show.
So he's directed a couple of things. I don't think anything we've covered, but the film he made after the two Stuart Little, he made The Haunted Mansion, 2003. Yes. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Okay. He also directed, just last year, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. But he's perhaps most well known for his first film that he directed, The Lion King.
That's where I've heard that. The fucking Lion King. Wow, this is like, I feel like this is one of the bigger fall from graces in Hollywood.
Yeah, he was a co-director on that with
Right.
Roger Allers. What's who's gone on to do? Who went on to make Open Season?
I could care less about the director for this film, Richard.
Oh, so you do care a bit then?
Yeah, that's true. Next thing you're going to reveal some crazy plot twist over who wrote the film.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm such a stupid. I couldn't figure out the segue properly, but that's what I came up.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things about like Stuart Little that would be like, oh, well, actually, there's this like secret little thing, but they're quite well known now. But yeah. M. Night Shyamalan wrote Stuart Little like hot off the heels of The Sixth Sense.
Like you just can't see any of him in this. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't point to something in this film and be like, yeah, that's classic Shyamalan. Like this is so indicative of the Shyamalan touch. I guess there's a twist. I guess maybe that's the part that he wrote, but he's one of two screenwriters. It's not like he did a pass.
Yeah. Greg Brooker is an American screenwriter, best known for co-writing the screenplay of Stuart Little with M. Night Shyamalan.
God, imagine that being your claim to fame.
He also did the story for Christopher Robin. That's the only thing he's written. The only other thing he's written.
The real tragic thing here is you tell people I wrote Stuart Little with M. Night Shyamalan. And the reaction is, I can't believe M. Night Shyamalan wrote Stuart Little. The reaction is not, I can't believe you wrote Stuart Little. They're fine with that.
I am ready to believe that that someone with one other writing credit for Christopher Robin 20 years later.
Hey, now, let's cut. This is not an especially poorly written. Maybe we're being too harsh on the old mouse. Maybe we need to be a bit kinder to the screenplay written by this auteur of cinema, and then the other guy,
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, M. Night someone. Let me ask you, what is Stuart Little about?
So, like, the same year that he was nominated for Best Director and Best Original Screenplay, his... Like, if it was the way the Oscars originally were, where people were nominated for their body of work an entire year, his sole Academy Award nominations would have been Best Director, Sixth Sense, and Best Original Screenplay. Oh, that's not original, actually. Best Screenplay, The Sixth Sense, and Stuart Little.
Yeah.
So, what is Stuart Little about, AJ?
Richard, this movie is about a family named the Littles. Frederick Little, Eleanor Little, Eleanor, and their young son, Kid from Jerry Maguire, or as I always knew him, Jonathan Lipnicki. I saw this movie, and like Mike and shit, I saw all these movies.
And you were like, I want to be him.
No, but I saw them like way before I ever saw Jerry Maguire. So by the time people were making Kid from Jerry Maguire jokes, I was like, you mean Jonathan Lipnicki from Little Vampires?
Yeah.
So they're adopting a baby brother, and they go to the adoption zoo, whatever's going on.
The adoption zoo. We'll get to
I mean, it's not just humans, is it?
Okay, yeah, finish the synopsis and then we can get into all the, like, fucking talking points about imagine being one of the other orphans and they pick a fucking mouse.
Have we thought about the implications of Pixar's Cars universe? I'm gonna make a TikTok about how there was a car Hitler. All right,
or how what's-her-face, Sally, like, shits all over Lightning McQueen because there's no mud puddle. Have you seen that one?
That's legitimately more interesting than the car Jesus situation, I think. So, they go to adopt a baby, and while they're there, they meet a talking mouse.
A talking feminist mouse.
Yeah, that's true. He's reading Little Woman, which is what makes you a feminist. Imagine if he was like an incel. Stuart Little's going to be an incel when he grows up. Just kidding. He's not going to grow up. Mice only live for 2 years. So he is voiced by the inimitable Michael J. Fox. I defy you to imit him. And he's. I'm a little mouse.
Whoa, Doc.
Jeez.
You telling me you built a mouse out of a little boy?
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me you built a little red convertible for me to drive around in? Best part about Stuart Little.
This little red car.
Fucking red
this
car.
is our top useless statistics. This is our second franchise in a row in which Michael J. Fox drives an iconic vehicle.
Yes, our second Michael J. Fox franchise in a row in which he ends up in a facsimile of the Wild West and has to pretend to be a cowboy. While a white-haired mentor character is also involved. In this case, the cat. So, they meet this little feminist mouse, and he's, like, talking up all these kids. He's like, oh, that kid over there, fastest kid in the school. And it's like, okay, that's probably not something a parent cares about.
I want a nice, slow kid.
Yeah, and so they're like, well, you seem like the first person we've talked to here. Why don't we just adopt you? And the adoption lady is like, oh, we don't really recommend people adopting outside their own species. And look, I get it's a silly logic. I get it. The movie takes place in a dream world. But the implications here are that some animals are sentient and have human intelligence and can be adopted. Look, we'll get into it later. So they adopt Stuart and they say, right, now you're Stuart Little. And they bring him home. George could not be fucked with like this bullshit. And you know what? Fair enough. You think like it must be like an emotional... It's quite an emotional journey to know you're coming home from school that day and you'll have a new member of your family. And to come home from school to see you've got one of the like most low maintenance pets you can get would be a bummer. I'm with George. And so a lot of the movie is Stuart Little trying to win the approval of George. He expresses to his parents that he feels like something's missing and kind of wants to meet his original parents. And meanwhile, Snowbell the cat is humiliated, voiced by Nathan Lane. Best performance in the film. And he's like, I can't believe I'm a pet, a mouse's pet, basically. So he goes to the
mouse with a pet cat.
Yep, so he goes to the cat mafia, Richard, the cat mafia, and they organize...
Which is classic Shyamalan.
You don't find this out till later, I'm telling you it in reverse. But it turns out that the cats actually hire a couple of mice to pose as his parents and come pick him up. And then when the cat gets out of the bag, so to speak, they decide, all right, we're going to kill them instead. Snowball changes sides and they save... It's a very unfocused story. I can't believe Shyamalan wrote this. And they save the day and everything's like, the cats fall into the ocean. I mean, the lake, the river. They fall into, what's the big fucking park called?
Central Park.
In New York? Central Park. They fall into a river in Central Park and drown. No, they don't drown. But, and so Stuart Little's made a friend in George and a friend in Snowbell. And it ends with them having a little dance party as the credits roll. As was the way in 2000.
Yeah, that was... Well, this was 1999. So, AJ...
Look, it's not Rob Minkin's best work. I'll start there. It's not his best work.
What do you think it has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I reckon this has 47%.
You are 20 off.
67?
It has 67%.
Wow.
And it's earned every single one of those percents, I think. So, AJ, there's been a lot of... Stuart Little's copped a lot of flack in recent years. There was a Facebook meme page called I Hate Stuart Little. And then, like, one of the first...
Whenever there was, like, a global tragedy, it would blame it on Stuart.
Yeah. And so there would be, like... one of the first posts was like, this is not a joke. I hate that fucking mouse. And so it just became... And then people... caught on to that, and it was like it just became this thing to hate Stuart Little. And Yeah, it's an interesting, like, it's one of these films that's lived on in memehood, and, like, everyone remembers Stuart Little and just thinks, like, the weird implications of that movie. But what do you understand the rules of the world to be? Because, like you said, there is the line where Julia Sweeney's character, who's the adoption lady, says, like, we don't recommend cross-species adoption. And so it's somewhat implied that, like, I don't know, like, Stuart has broken out of the mouse adoption part, but, like, and no one seems to be surprised that the mouse can talk. Like, Jonathan Lipnicki doesn't get home and think, holy shit, a talking mouse. He thinks, oh, I got an inferior race as a brother.
And look, I'm sorry, but yeah, you did. One of the things that I think is so interesting about this whole series is that a running theme through all three films is Mrs. Little being too protective over Stuart. You know, she doesn't want him to do anything. She doesn't want him to join the school soccer team. She doesn't want him to join the Rangers. She doesn't, you know, she's like, he's going to get hurt. And Mr. Little is always like, oh, listen, babe, boys have got to be boys. We've got to let him play football. We've got to, and it's like, no, she is right. If you put him on the field, he could get trampled and die. The cat tries to eat him, which is something they should have seen coming. So, like, they live in a let's follow the logic of this world to its most generous endpoint, right? Let's say this is a world in which some animals can talk and behave like humans. Not all of them, but some of them, right? This movie proposes that if this was the case, there are no like precautions, or there's
checks
no like
and balances.
There's no like equivalent to like I hope this isn't problematic thing to say, but I feel like there's a bit of this movie that's an allegory for maybe like someone who's maybe like disabled or a wheelchair user, and it's like they can still do these things. And in real life, that is absolutely true. But we are talking about a 2-inch high mouse, where just the practical realities of the world he's living in mean that they probably shouldn't let him play football. I'll say it. They probably shouldn't have adopted him. They don't have the like, they put him in a gigantic bed at the start. Ridiculous. Well, ridiculous.
AJ, this might satisfy you a little bit with some of your issues. So this, as we know, this is based on a book by E.B. White, and interestingly, there's just the one book, which came out. Like
Call of the Wild wasn't based on a early 19th century book.
We will get to that, AJ. You
okay.
Fuck. Okay, so it came out.
Seriously, I don't know what I'm talking about. Please don't think I'm spoiling anything.
1945. Would it
early
surprise
20th
you?
century, just to clarify.
Would it surprise you to learn, and it might not because I know you've had access to this information already, but in the book, Stuart Little is not a mouse.
No, it's a treachery of images situation.
It's not like a Humpty Dumpty thing where it's just like he's just always. No. It's that he is the biological son of Mr. and Mrs. Little. He just happens to not grow past 2 inches tall, and also looks identical to a mouse. Which means, that's why I said treachery of images, is that the book version of Stuart Little is not a mouse. He is a little boy that looks exactly like a mouse. Therefore, philosophically, Richard, what is a mouse? What is anything? What is anything if not what it looks like? Do you know about there's no such thing as a fish? Yes.
Do you know about this?
Yeah.
So, like, for those that don't know, a fish is not a species. It is just the thing that biologists call any animal that lives in the ocean. Because, like, a trout is not related to a salmon. That's just what things look like when they evolve underwater. Yeah. And it's one of these situations almost where it's like, well, if he's not actually a mouse, there's no such thing as anything. If a human can be born looking like a mouse, as tall as a mouse, function as a mouse, he's not a mouse though, he's a human. And maybe that's true. Who am I to say that no? Who am I to tell him that he is a mouse, you know?
Do you know about the interesting piece of art direction in this film?
Well, so basically he's supposed to be a human, but he looks like a mouse.
That was actually just the art direction of the film. No, there was there's a painting that's used as set dressing in the Little's home, and it was discovered to have been a long lost painting considered lost since the 1920s. Which a set designer just randomly purchased at like an antique store for $500, put it in the film, and then in 2009, an art historian was watching the movie on TV with his daughter, noticed the painting, and contacted the studio, was able to track down its whereabouts, and in 2014, it was sold for like €250,000.
And what was the budget of Stuart Little? How much did it make at the box office?
Stuart Little was made $300 million.
Okay.
Big hit for
I feel
1999.
That's a really cool story, but I was kind of hoping it was going to be a bit darker. Like, the picture was of like some like horrific event in history.
It was a picture of 9/11.
Yeah.
And it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, and I Hate Stuart Little would post about how this means that Stuart Little did 9/11.
So, I mean, generally, like, critics were sort of, generally nice to this film, but...
About 67%.
Certain people liked it. It's a Jesus freak hideout said that from start to finish, Stuart Little is a near flawless family film. That's quoted on Wikipedia. Although I did find, AJ, that Jim from Maine, who is the parent of a 4, 9, and 13-year-old, said, why use adult language in a kids' film?
Why?
Would have given it 4 stars, as it's not a bad film for kids 5 and up. But repeated use of damn and hell, as in what the hell, drop it to 2 stars. Some sick people make films, just can't help themselves, or stop from using adult material.
Can't
Twisted.
help themselves. It is twisted. You're right, Jim from Maine, or whatever your name was.
I want to ask you a question.
Like never mind the like parental abuse that goes on in the film, where he's manipulated into thinking these 2 other mice are like, like he's been through a lot. Never mind that. They said damn.
Yeah. What did you think? Like, how were the moments of violence and peril shown in the film? Did they seem necessary to the story, or did they seem forced to make the movie seem more interesting?
Forced to make the movie seem more interesting, Richard, and I'm sick and tired of these family movies putting characters in danger. The mouse could have died, and that makes me... God! Makes me livid!
And I mean, what do you think about how does the film sort of deal with the idea of adoption, and how's it similar and different to ways in which other movies and TV shows depict adoption, do you think?
So I know we're doing a joke. You're reading from, is this Common Sense Media?
It is Common Sense Media. You get 3 free reviews a month. I decided to use them on Stuart Little 1 to 3.
Oh, right. I think that, what was the question again? Oh, adoption.
How does it
I think
address
this
adoption?
maybe makes a mockery of adoption. Like, I think that maybe this is not the most sensitive portrayal of adoption. And look, here's okay. I've talked before about how, like, my problem with Ratatouille is that in real life no one would be okay with rats running a restaurant, right? And everyone's always like, well, rats also can't talk, and you can't control someone by pulling on their ears.
That we know of.
And I know that this is also the case for Stuart Little. Yeah. That it's, in real life, mice can't talk. But everything that's in that bubble of conversation, they adopt a mouse instead of a human. The mouse can talk, but he can talk to the cat, but the humans don't talk to the cat. And I want to say before that, like, he gets put in all these perilous situations, and the parents... At one point in the second one, he's just gone missing in New York City. They don't know where he is. And the calmness of Mr. and Mrs. Little compared to what is happening right now is admirable. They do not lose their shit, even though their tiny son is lost in one of the biggest, most populated cities in the world.
Yeah.
Right? So I get all that as like the answer is because it's a movie and it's silly. But God, it just pisses me off. I can't get past this movie because it's like there's 20% of more explanation of the world building I need to be accepting of the reality of the film. The only reprieve, Richard, the only reprieve I get from this frustration is when he pulls out that little red convertible. I just sink into delight. I think it is absolutely charming. He's riding it around school. Oh my God. He can drive. First of all, he can drive. Second of all, the car works. It's not a toy. It just works as a regular car. Look, I don't know what else to tell you. That's just how I feel about Stuart Little.
AJ, I want to ask you a question as well. This isn't from Common Sense Media. This is just common sense, really.
This is just your common sense.
Can they understand Snowball?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because there's a YouTuber that you and I are both quite big fans of named Leo Vader.
Yes.
You send me his videos, I watch them.
Leo Vader's listening to this right now and is like, oh, Richard's making fun of me.
No, so yeah, he has a video, Can They Understand Snowball and Stuart Little? And kind of, it's more a video just about like all these implication stuff that we've talked about. But the vibe I get from the Snowball thing is that it's like a Stewie Griffin sort of scenario. And
another famously vague situation.
I was going to say, like that doesn't...
Couldn't be more clear.
To the untrained eye, to a Family Guy fan. It's a very different story. But my sort of understanding of Stewie and Snowball...
Stewie and Stuart Little? Stewie Little!
Is that, like, they get the gist of what they say. That, like, to us, the audience, we're hearing Snowball be like, fuck, I want to eat Stuart, that little cunt. And then Mr. and Mrs. Little are just hearing a cat be like, meow, which is like, oh, Snowball wants to eat Stuart. I don't because they react to Snowball as if he's said something, but they're not responding to him. They're not having conversations with him. But when Snowball expresses something, the Littles get that expression.
So I think as well, a problem in this movie's logic is that it wants to be two things at once. It wants to be a movie where there's a talking mouse and no one finds it weird. But they also want to be a movie where Broadway celebrity Nathan Lane voices a white fluffy cat
from Rob Minkoff's last film, The Lion King.
Yeah, true. That only the mouse can understand, and I think they can't. I think it has to be all or nothing. But I will say this: that I think the Stewie Griffin thing is, I think a more accurate parallel here is Angelica's role in the Rugrats.
Right.
Where she is able to communicate with the adults, but she can also she can still speak baby. She hasn't lost her ability to speak baby.
So you think she's more like the Angelica? Snowball is the Angelica.
Snowball is more like an Angelica in that...
So you think, Snowball can... No, Stuart's the Angelica.
Stuart's the Angelica.
Right.
Because he can speak to the humans, but the cats are still speaking animal. The universal animal language. They're all animals.
It's kind of like an Eliza Doolittle thing.
Isn't that interesting?
Eliza Thornberry.
We didn't make that.
Eliza Doolittle.
I know you meant... Okay, well, let's put the Doolittle thing aside. I think that's going to make my brain explode if we start talking about Dr. Doolittle, right? But let's talk about... We didn't talk about when we did the Rugrats Thornberries episode.
Yeah, Eliza Doolittle is from, like, Pygmalion. Like, My Fair Lady is Eliza.
Okay.
So there's, like...
So there's 5 things happening in your brain right now, basically. No, isn't that interesting that the Rugrats has a character who can communicate with babies and humans, and the Thornberries has a character that can communicate with animals and humans? Isn't that interesting? Isn't that?
And Dr. Doolittle can do
just
it all.
talk to fucking anyone, and it's not a secret.
Well, because they ADR'd all his dialogue.
He can say anything he wants.
There was a Doolittle, Robert Downey Jr.'s Doolittle reference.
Very nice. This is very good reference.
Gets slapped in the face by Will Smith. Wow. It was a Robert Downey Jr.'s Doolittle joke.
This is crazy episode. This is an energy only a Stuart Little episode could bring.
Yeah, well, you said something interesting just before we started recording that you feel like you would have been
You
more
said
excited.
that you think you're a piece of shit and
that you feel like you would have been more excited to do this franchise years ago. And because when we rolled it last week, I was very excited. I thought, oh what an episode missing from the catalogue.
No, you're right. But that's kind of what I meant.
Right.
It's missing from the catalogue.
You would rather it stay missing.
No, I wish we'd done it years ago.
When we were still good.
Yeah, I think we've lost our touch.
Are you ready to move on to Stuart Little 2?
I've never been more ready to move on to Stuart Little 2 in my life.
Well, that's good, because this is the first time we're about to. So, Stuart Little 2 came out in 2002, again directed by Rob Minkoff. What do you think this one has on Rotten Tomatoes?
47%.
No, this one has 81%.
Oh my god! What?
Yeah.
I thought these were like critically reviled films. This is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Here's my big note for Stuart Little 2. Is I think in the 2 years between the two films, the 3 years in between the two films, I think that the CGI got more advanced, but I think it is flying too close.
But as a society, we got less advanced. Fuck, that's deep.
I think it is flying too close to the sun in this one. And I actually think the actual 3D asset that is Stuart Little looks better in the first one than it does in the second one. I think they're trying to do more with him because of the technology advancements in the second one. But I think overall I am less convinced that the character is in the scene because of that.
There's been a lot of talk recently I've seen on Twitter about how how ballsy it was of Peter Jackson to make a film called The Two Towers and release it in 2002, 1 year after 9/11. But people don't give enough credit to how ballsy the climax of Stuart Little 2 about an out-of-control aircraft is.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Should we say what is
it
Stuart Little 2 about? Okay, so Stuart, it's sometime, presumably not that much time later, because
it has to be
only
within
going to
3 years.
Yeah, he's going to die soon. Jesus, no wonder they never made a live action third one. It's because the actor died.
It's 3 years after the first film.
Oh well, this is a decrepit mouse.
Well, he's not a mouse. He's a human who looks like a mouse.
Well, no, in the movie, he's adopted, so he is a mouse. And how long was he at the adoption centre for?
8 years.
A couple of years? Yeah. How old is Stuart Little? When you adopt a kid, do you not adopt a baby?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's what orphanages are for, isn't it?
I guess not. But like they adopt a mouse who has a deeper voice than their 7-year-old real son.
Yeah. Well, maybe
biological son.
Mice just have different vocal cords.
Okay. So he's playing soccer. He's trying to make friends, and he makes a friend in Margalo, a canary
Fantastic
that
name
falls
as well. From
the sky. And he thinks he's in love. He thinks he's gonna. I don't need to make that joke.
What were you gonna say?
He thinks. I was going to say he wants to fuck the canary. I was going to go there. They do make it explicit that he has a crush on her, which I thought was interesting. It would be very easy to just be like, they're friends. But, the last movie taught me that couples can adopt outside of their species, so why can't they?
Why can't they fuck outside of their species?
Yeah, exactly. Why? And that's the soapbox I'm standing on for this episode, Richard. Why can't we fuck outside of our species? Is it because it's gross, or is it because it's a consent issue? I used to ask people this all the time. You
did, AJ.
Is it an issue? Is bestiality an issue for you? Because you think it would be gross to put your genitals in another animal's genitals? Or is it because an animal can't consent, and therefore it is not above board? What is the worst part? Which one is more the reason why you wouldn't bang an animal?
I would say that even you take out anything societal, which includes the consent thing. I think there is a biological thing within us that doesn't want to do that.
Oh, speak for yourself. So he has got...
Speak for yourself. I respect a little thing called consent.
Yeah. I don't want to take anything societal out of it, Richard. I'll have you know, every day I hold myself back from fucking a dog, okay? And the reason I don't is because I respect consent, and that's why I don't do that. It's got nothing... The whole biological thing couldn't mean shit to me, okay? Anyway, I'm on a tangent. I'm on one of my classic tangents.
If this is your first time listening to the Cult Publisher thing, like AJ does this a lot, and it's always about the same thing.
And it's always a classic bit every time.
Yeah.
So the turns out that Margalo is a double agent for a Falcon who is voiced by
Falcon.
Who's named Falcon and voiced by now alt-right mouthpiece James Woods, who, last franchise we joked about getting Hercules because we'd mentioned Hercules, and then we got one of the main voices from Hercules. So
instead
there's
we got
that little
Alan Silvestri, Michael J. Fox franchise.
Alan Silvestri did the music. As well. Do you think they've ever met?
Yes.
Do you think Alan Silvestri has like a...
Do you think Alan Silvestri knows he did the music for Stuart Little too?
Do you think he has a set of tools he uses only for Michael J. Fox movies? Like he has like a style that he reserves,
like an instrument he only uses for it.
Yeah, and it's just like the piano, like something real basic. Stuart's being fucking played. The birds like steal Mrs. Little's diamond ring, and he goes to try and save her because she thinks she's been kidnapped. There's a period of the movie where it's presumed Stuart Little is dead.
Yeah.
The cat, the Snowbell, thinks he's dead. But it turns out everything's okay. I think he kills the Falcon by driving a plane into it. And jumps out at the last second, and he makes good friends with Margalo, and they live happily ever after.
Yeah. Did you know that, just fun little bit of math for you, that Stuart Little 2 is the exact midpoint in Alan Silvestri's career between Back to the Future, that classic theme, and doing Portals for Avengers Endgame.
See, this would be a great stat if Stuart Little 2 was a significant work in his career.
Yeah.
It's only significant right now for us because we've just done Back to the Future. I'm comfortable saying Portals is like a big moment in pop culture. That's its own milestone, and Back to the Future is obviously its own milestone.
He also did in the same year. I mean, if you wanted to, he also did Lilo and Stitch in the same year as Stuart Little 2 and Made in Manhattan.
He did Manhattan?
Yeah.
Damn, he did Made? Nice.
Damn, they got Alan for Made?
What did you think of Stuart Little 2? Do you think it's like 82% good?
This is one of those films that, watching it, I was like, holy shit, I saw this in the cinema. And also, I haven't thought about the name Margalo in 20 years.
I didn't see this in the cinema, but this was one of the poster childs for PSP UMD DVDs.
Yeah.
It was Stuart Little 2 and Spider-Man 2 where you would buy your PSP and you'd get one of those along
depending on
with
how
it.
old you were.
Yeah, and Casino Royale was that for PS3. PS3
Yeah.
Blu-ray was Casino Royale. You'd buy a PS3, you'd get a free copy of Blu-ray of Casino Royale, and I think those are interesting. Sort of, those are interesting identities for movies to have. I think what they're used to sell alongside.
Yeah. What would you say is the most recent version of something like that?
I mean, Avatar, the first Avatar with 3D TVs, maybe.
I guess, yeah. I mean, that's still quite
What do you reckon?
I'm trying to think of a big film that went to streaming or something like that.
I guess that would be the modern equivalent. Was any movie sold with the PS5?
Nah.
I guess there was no leap forward in.
Well, that's the thing.
Blu-ray.
It's and we don't. I mean, home video doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, right.
So
Good point.
That it's it would be something that's oh, everyone who has Netflix has seen, what is it, Beasts of No Nation, but they haven't.
No. Interesting, yeah. So, Stuart Little 2,
I think morally it's a pretty pure film, except there's one scene at the end where the mother, Gina Davis's character, tells Stuart and Jonathan Lipnicki that she's still proud of them, even though they just got caught in a big lie, which infers, that the lying was okay because everything turned out all right.
I see.
And I didn't like that.
No, well, it's disgusting. It's
Diana Rizky, who's the parent of a 16-year-old, agrees with me on that.
That's good. That's good. So the family understand Margalo. It's worth saying.
Yes, it's
we're not shown them. Margalo. We're not shown them interacting with the
Falcon.
The Falcon though. But for all we know,
we do see them interacting with the Winter Soldier.
Did we?
No.
Why'd you say that?
Because the show Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, I knew it was in my brain somewhere, but I couldn't quite. And there's another bit where the Falcon tries to kill Snowball, but he's in a bucket and he knocks him to like within an inch of falling off a giant building. And I was just so uncomfortable with that scene. And I was like, I really wish Snowball would get out of the bucket. and then he gets knocked off in the bucket and just survives by it like happening to catch onto something. And the thing, it's one of these situations where like, because the family never see the like heights of peril that these loved ones of theirs are put in, they're never that upset the whole movie. But if you saw your cat get knocked off a bucket off like the Empire State Building, that would scar you for life. Like that would be one of the most horrific things you'd ever experience, But the cat can't tell them it happened because he can't speak to the humans, as we've established.
So one thing that I found interesting, as I mentioned, the climax of the film involves a wayward aircraft that Stuart and Margalo, because Margalo's had a broken wing, so she isn't just great at flying, and this
she's faking the broken wing.
Yeah, true. Yeah, this aircraft is hurtling. The Falcon rips the top off it so that it's hurtling towards all the onlookers, including the Littles, in Central Park. And it's like, oh my god, there's no way out of this. Stuart can't pull up the brake. They're not going to be able to fly. But like, you're talking about, this is a toy aircraft with a mouse and a canary who combined maybe weigh 40 grams. That it's like, you just catch the plane. There's no stakes there. Catch the plane. And that's such a simple thing to do. And then later on, because it's like, also, canaries can fly, but you're like, okay, well, I don't want to just assume that Margalo's 20 grams can lift Stuart Little's 20 grams. But no, then the resolution
that's
of this
how
thing
they get out.
is that it happens. And so it's it's such a non-scene. It's
the tagline for this movie should have been, "You'll believe a bird can fly."
The tagline for this film actually is quite good.
Tell me.
A little goes a long way.
That's so good. That's so fucking good.
Yeah.
That's better. Hear me. That's better than the films themselves.
The first film's tagline was, "The little family just got bigger."
They're on top of their game with these taglines. What's the third movie's tagline? Come on, give the thing.
I'm gonna have to go to IMDb because it doesn't have one on the actual poster.
Give it to me. Come on. I'm gonna guess like, a little help. A little help, please.
Stuart's biggest adventure yet.
All right. That one's not as good, but fitting for a movie that is not as good.
Do you think it's okay to lie to keep a promise, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's actually okay to commit sin. Of course I don't think that's okay, Richard.
What are you, fucking stupid? You out of your mind?
Of course lying is wrong, you dipshit.
What do you think it would be like to be a small animal in the big city?
Peerless. Peerless, it'd be. I think you may be little, but you're going a long way.
Well, do you want to move on to the third film then?
I've never in my life wanted to move on to the third Stuart Little film more
So
than I do right now. A tight 73 minutes of some of the most Barbie Diaries-esque animation
Yeah.
you'll ever have to sit through. Stuart Little 3, Call of the Wild, 2005. Who directed Minkin Return?
no, this was Adu Payden.
It shows, because that Minkin touch has just vanished. Minkoff. I've been calling him Minkin this whole time. This one's like cel-shaded animation, very early version of this
Spider-Verse.
technology. It looks, yeah, almost. I guess so. This walked so Spider-Verse could run. It kind of looks like you've gone to like StuartLittle.com in the early 2000s, and there's like a flash game you can play, and you're watching the opening cutscene, and it just never ends. That's what this movie is. But they are going to summer, like they're going to a cabin for summer. And for some reason, the thing that the logical leap that I find the worst one, you know, I can accept the mouse talks, I can accept that they adopt a mouse. I cannot imagine why you would take your cat on your summer vacation. You would get someone to look after it. You wouldn't bring the cat. It's ridiculous. Because what happens? Oh, it nearly gets eaten by a mountain lion. And to the movie's credit, yeah, that's probably what would happen if you took your cat out into the wilderness. And your mouse son, your fucking son who's a mouse. You're gonna get to the wide open spaces of the American frontier. Take your 2-inch tall mouse son, put him on the ground, and go, well, yeah, go explore the forest. Why don't you have a little run around? I'm sure we'll see you again. I'm sure this won't be the last time I'll see my mouse son.
The last time I see my mouse son, that's a very good name for like the Taylor Sheridan directed Stuart Little reboot.
Yeah. So they go camping, and George could not give a shit. A distinctly Jonathan Lipnicki-less George.
I hope Rivex responds to that and makes up a poster for the last time I'll
now
see
you've
my
asked him
mouse
to.
son. Yes, I probably won't.
Now you've asked him to. So RivX, the person that takes what
incredible
we call movies
posters
and the best content associated with Cult Pop Show, I think,
including the podcast.
Including the podcast. So they go camping. Jonathan Lipnicki's is not there. George is played by some other young kid, which thank God, because to be honest,
He was terrible.
the Jerry Maguire performance, we all know that was a fluke. Because he was terrible in Little Vampires. And so he's concerned with his game till he sees like a girl he likes. Stuart Little wants to join the Scouts, but they're all like, oh, you're pretty small. You probably shouldn't even be here, to be honest. And there's a beast. There's a beast that the other animals know about. There's a skunk named Rico, voiced by Wayne Brady, who makes friends with Stuart Little. And in sort of a shocking display of like the movie flying again too close to the sun, but this time in terms of its own logic, universal logic, the mouse has dinner with the Littles, in which again they don't.
The skunk.
They're not shown. The skunk does. Yeah, is that what I said?
You said mouse.
So I said, the skunk does. The skunk is invited round for dinner, where again it is very unclear if the family are able to understand. And this is when they're having dinner with the skunk.
Yeah.
It's very unclear. Anyway, the last part of the movie actually went by on, you could almost say, like 1.5 speed, it felt like, in a lot of ways. It was a very interesting creative choice from the director.
It felt slowed down for me.
No. I thought it was very quick. And they defeat the beast, who's a mountain lion that's essentially like bogarting all the food in the forest. And everyone's like, oh, look, there was a dangerous animal that could have very easily attacked our son and also the humans that live around here.
Thank God we've got a friend who can do a big fart.
Yes, that's right. That's what happens. The mouse. Gina Davis.
So you hadn't seen the Swamp film before?
No, I have not seen this one before. I knew it existed for a long time.
I was going
and
to mention this, that like one thing that I like about our relationship and our mutual respect for each other is that I would never condescend to think that I could teach you that there is a third Stuart Little movie.
Yeah.
You and I both know we entered this friendship knowing the other person would already know that there is an animated third Stuart Little film.
I don't think we've ever surprised each other with an obscure sequel. Not once. And I surprise everyone else I know with obscure sequels. Yeah. What did you think of this one? I thought it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like, really bad. And I was like, well, at least Nathan Lane's back. Got to the credits. It's just a guy doing a Nathan Lane impression.
Wow.
It's not Nathan Lane.
Kevin Sean.
Yeah.
Well, he
Doesn't
certainly
exactly...
shone as the voice
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and Steve Zahn is not back as Monty.
Kevin
My
Sean,
favourite actor, Steve Zahn.
An American voice actor, best known as a voice double for Nathan Lane in animated media, most notably as Timon in the Timon and Pumbaa series.
Yeah, right. It's a pretty fucking spot on impression. It's not like Dan Castellaneta's Robin Williams, in which you can kind of tell.
Yeah, and it's just a different character.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also that. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, I thought this was really bad. I thought it looked like garbage. I thought a career low point for Michael J. Fox, Gina Davis, and Hugh Laurie, I reckon. Like, gotta be like... And for Michael J. Fox, he's like just, he's facing a future where he's not going to be able to do his passion for much longer.
Yeah.
And then he does this. Oh my God, it's so sad and depressing.
Well, yeah, it's like he'd already been diagnosed with Parkinson. He was diagnosed in 1991, so it's like... Yeah, I mean, he entered the Stuart Little franchise knowing that. Crazy.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few things.
Is there any sort of like common sense things that you thought you might have to say about it?
And this is just a chance to give good. What should you do if you get lost, whether it's in the forest or a more urban setting?
You should befriend a skunk and then bring him home. I think this movie actually made the right decision.
Yeah. How does the friendship between Stuart and Rico change and get better during the movie? What do they do, and how do they behave when it's obvious they haven't yet fit in with those around them?
Yeah, for sure. And it's a little awkward for them after they have sex for the first time, but I think once they work out that it was just like a one-time thing when they were getting to know each other, after that, it's a lot more natural for them.
And like this one is a common sense thing, but it is also kind of interesting.
Common sense thing.
But that, what does the movie teach about enjoying nature and living in the moment instead of playing video games and staring at screens all day? That I feel like this is kind of ahead of its time with that message about like being addicted to a portable device, because it's like, I mean, I guess like the Game Boy's been around since like 1989, but I don't remember anything from the 90s which was like, oh my God, even though we're in this beautiful nature, you can't stop looking at your portable device. Whereas now it's like, I think, it's a very common thing about, we don't take in nature enough, and we just look at our phones.
Well, I don't think it's common. I think it's now past it. I think it's now like, if I see that message in something, I roll my eyes.
Well, it's just like,
you're right.
This
is an early example
of
it. Yeah, because George, of course, is obsessed with his video game.
Like, it's like, of course I'm looking at my phone. Although, one line that I'm glad I remembered, when she's his love interest, he's looking at his Game Boy, and she goes, look up once in a while. The resolution's a lot better. And he looks up and goes, wow, look at all the pixels. And it's like, this is not the medium to have that joke. Because the resolution is not better.
Movie with terrible graphics. That's so true, dude. Holy shit. That's great.
Thank you.
Richard, I would like to talk about titles, which we talk about sometimes on this podcast. And I think that the Stuart Little movies should be called something else. Do you want to know what I think they should be called?
The Mouse Who Wasn't There.
The Mouse Who Wasn't There.
Rivets.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it should be called Stuart Little, a mouse tail, but tail is spelled T-A-L-E. Because why would it be spelled T-A-I-L?
Well, because it's so iconic.
Well, but plenty of animals have tails.
Plenty of animals have ears.
I didn't say ears. Did I say ears?
Damn, hoisted by my own petard.
Ha I got you! How many mouse franchises have we covered? Is this just the second one?
We haven't covered it, but there's the film Mouse Hunt, in which Nathan Lane portrays a character hunting a mouse.
Do you want to know my connection to Mouse Hunt, Richard?
You've watched it?
It was I reckon Mouse Hunt was the second movie I ever saw in cinemas.
Wow. After...
The first was Flubber.
Fuck yeah. You certainly didn't flub that movie-going decision.
Thank you. 4-year-old AJ would be very glad to hear that.
All right, there's a segment it's not really an official segment, but it's something we've done a few times now, where we turn to our favourite pasty white goth bitch.
Jesus Christ, you can't say that.
Rachel, I said, how would you like to be credited?
Okay.
And Rachel suggested that.
Oh my god. Well, Rachel, he did not brief me that was what you requested. That was absolutely an edit note that I jotted down to remove that introduction. So
no, after we threw around some suggestions of how best to call Rachel, because I was like, this is I will explain what she's done in just a moment, but yeah, I said, it's up to you how you want to be credited or thanked or whatever, and we joked about some ideas, and that was Rachel's suggestion, but then said, just do whatever feels right in the moment, and I have, and that felt right to me.
I'm glad it felt right.
So Rachel, is our resident sort of book expert. They're a massive Hannibal fan, and so when we covered the Hannibal series, said, look, give me a rundown of the major differences, and then so now for each book-based franchise, we've turned to Rachel again. And yeah, Rachel hadn't seen the third film, but watched the first two as a kid, rewatched them, and read the book by E.B. White to provide
literally more work than we did for this episode.
yeah. So interestingly, you said about the book, I'm presuming doesn't cover the cover of the book is the same scene as the cover of the DVD cover of Call of the Wild.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's a Jurassic Park 3 situation.
Yeah. So the book material is...
I'm not going to explain that for those that don't get it.
Yeah, if you don't get it, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. So Stuart Little covers largely chapters 1 and 4 through to 7. Stuart Little 2 is based on chapter 2 and 8 to 11, and Stuart Little 3 is based on chapter 13.
This is way more comprehensive than I was expecting.
There is a full page and a half of notes. Rachel said you don't have to read them all, you can cherry pick. I have not done that. I'm going to sort of edit as I read. So as we talked about, that's the biological son. The book says Stuart arrived, and that's the sort of implication that it's a biological son. They notice he's not growing as quickly as George, and the doctor says it's unusual for an American family to have a mouse, implying that there might be other mice children in existence with higher birth rates in other countries. In the movies, Stuart is a child, and he's the youngest son, sort of is the implication. In the book, he ages rapidly.
Oh God!
Interestingly, in the second half of the book, he's regarded more as an adult by other adults in the book.
This is very depressing. This sounds like it's taking to heart the whole 2-year lifespan.
Yeah. The main focus isn't Stuart's relationship with George. In the book, George just immediately accepts Stuart. And it's just a series of adventures. First half in New York City, second half in the countryside, out looking for Margalo, and how Stuart navigates the world being 2 inches tall, looking like a mouse.
Being a mouse.
In the books, it's flipped. Mr. Little is the more strict, more worrisome parent.
Right.
Interestingly.
And so the movies went let's stick to traditional gender stereotypes.
Yeah. So the boat race in the first film, which we didn't even mention, but it's the best scene in the film.
It's the set piece of the movie.
Yeah. Better than
The
anything
action
we
set
got in the
piece.
Dial of Destiny. Which, if you want to hear what that's a reference to, you could either go to the movies and watch Dial of Destiny, or for slightly cheaper than that, you can subscribe to our Patreon for Film Franchise Follow-Ups. We would just record an episode about that. I said, after Margalo's coming and going, Dr. Carey gives Stuart a model car for him to drive. It's a... Get this, it's not the little red convertible he has. It's a little yellow and black convertible, which drives like a normal car and turns invisible.
Okay. This is the can the cat understand, the can the humans understand the cat all over again. This is like, there is too many things you're wanting to do. Why would the character, who is so small he can go undetected, need an invisible car, E.B. White? Why would he need that?
Well, so the thing is, though, that he accidentally caused a bunch of havoc the first time he turned it invisible. So he's too scared to do it and doesn't turn it invisible again.
I can't believe this. This is so stupid. What do you mean the car turns invisible once? Why? Why in a book about a mouse boy does it need an invisible car?
So Margalo's introduction to the book is through Mrs. Little finding her on the windowsill and helping her warm up. They become quick friends and Stuart has a crush on her right away, like in the movie. Stuart does get...
Wait, but in this case, it's a human that just happens to look exactly like a mouse, having a crush on a bird.
Yeah. There's no plane in the books. Margalo saves him when he gets put on the garbage barge.
The barbage.
The Falcon's not in the book. It's a movie creation.
Oh.
Margalo stays with the Littles for a while, but what scares her away is a note that tells her to beware strange cats, which was left by a pigeon who overheard Snowbell conspiring with a friend to let the friend, a female Angora cat, into the house to eat Margalo. The ring down the drain incident is in the very first chapter, where it actually falls down the drain as just an example of Stuart helping out by being mouse-sized, and there's no snap string or peril or anything. It's just I can get this because I'm small.
This is what's very interesting about understanding all of this is that it is now adding a layer of like authenticity and lore to these movies, which I assumed had very little thought put into them. But they're actually like studying the sacred texts in a way, you know?
Rachel has written that, like in the films, the Littles can all communicate with Stuart and Margalo, but I'm genuinely not sure if they can communicate with Snowbell. On one hand, he definitely has a pet status, and there isn't any written dialogue, but when Margalo's missing, the family is said to have questioned Snowbell. Snowbell and Stuart have a rivalry, but without the affection. When Stuart thinks he's going to die on the garbage... Rachel said scow, right? A garbage scow. I've heard of it as a garbage barge. I don't know. It's more American term. One of his thoughts is how much he loves his family, and then in brackets, all but Snowbell.
Right, so they don't like each other at all.
Rachel's written, Stuart Little is way less of a little bitch in the book, a lot more capable of dealing with danger, although he still frequently gets trapped in household appliances. He also carries around a pocket knife. George is somehow more of a little bitch in the book, though. Generally quite whiny and not particularly smart. So on Stuart Little 3, the only thing it really takes from the books is Stuart has a bow and arrow which he uses to save Margalo early in this day and paddling in a little canoe. The rest seems to be invented for the movie, so there you go. And
nice.
Finally, Stuart Little doesn't actually find Margalo in the book. The book's ending is him heading north with a renewed sense of hope and purpose in his search, feeling like he's going in the right direction, but he doesn't actually find her, and there isn't really a resolution to the book.
Oh my god, what the fuck? Yeah. That's insane. Wow. Okay.
So thank you so much for that, Rachel. I love getting your... And this one felt personal, which was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the last couple have just been like, this is based on a book. Do work for me. It's just been like, I Googled what you could have Googled. So that was, thank you very much, Rachel, for that.
Well, this has given me inspiration for my Continue the Franchise. Really.
Yeah, well, Continue the Franchise. What is it, AJ?
What is the
segment?
I believe. Oh, sorry. It's where we pitch our own sequels. But first, I believe we talk about any other continuations.
Yes. So there is a TV show, a live action TV show.
A live action TV show.
Yeah, animated.
Oh. Well, that's the opposite.
It is. It was on HBO.
HBO picked this shit up. Holy fuck. It's the same style as Call of the Wild, right?
Yeah. No, it's just 2D animated, like normal.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
It came out between 2 and 3, I think. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah. The David Kaufman plays Stuart Little, plays Marty McFly in the Back to the Future series.
It's
And
one of those.
Hugh Laurie plays Mr. Little.
He just loves that character. He's always going to return to play.
And Jeffrey Jones returns as Uncle Crenshaw, who's in the first film, but not in the other ones.
It's just like, so this is the sex offender from Ferris
Bueller.
Bueller. It's so funny that you would think that Uncle Crenshaw is a character that needs his original voice actor back.
Yeah, who's
Or
only in the
original
first
actor.
film, not in the second one.
Yeah, strange. Okay, so my continue the franchise, inspired by Rachel's wonderful work in telling us what the difference is between the books and the films, is I want to have an authentic remake, adaptation of the book, of the source material in all its glory, and I want it to be a gritty
HBO
Logan
series.
style, send-off called Little. It's called Little, Richard.
Nice.
And in the end, he doesn't find Margalo. Just in the book, it ends coldly. It ends with a sense of hope, but the pessimists watching will have a different experience to the optimists watching.
Yes, right.
What have you got?
I want to do a film set now. Jonathan Lipnicki is 30-something, and as he's going about his day, he discovers, wait a minute, my son only lived for 2 years. My little brother, Stuart, has been there by my side since 1999, and it is discovered that the Littles, Hugh Laurie and Gina Davis, have been replacing Stuart every 2 years with a mouse that sounds identical. They're like, and they show the mouse Back to the Future, and they're like, you have to do an impression of this guy. So it's
mice
actually
are
not
actually like
Michael J. Fox doing it. It's like they train it each time to sound like Marty McFly.
Yeah, the mice are actually like quite hard-working character actors that are just desperate for a gig. There's a whole community of them.
Yeah. And so it's Jonathan
That's great.
Lipnicki realizing that his parents have been lying to him his entire life, pretty much.
We call it Stuart Littles.
Stuart's Little.
But the S is a dollar sign.
Yeah. So now it's time to rank the franchise.
A little lie.
Oh, Big Little Lie.
Big Little Lies.
So
yes,
time to rank that franchise, and it has been pointed out to me that I did not hit save after we ranked The Karate Kid. So that someone has said Karate Kid wasn't, Almighty Watcher said that Karate Kid wasn't saved on the ranked list at 93. Can you put that in there before ranking Mr. Little? So we will,
Mr. Little.
so we will put that in there, but it's
and for
also
those
worth
playing at
noting
home,
that there are people that are playing at home about ranking, and I know that the Almighty Watcher is one of them, and so potentially this is just what he put as the guess and has said, please save it as 93. Okay, so I've hit save this time.
Also, for those who are curious, this podcast will have just passed, this episode of the podcast will have just passed the duration of Stuart Little 3 Call of the Wild.
Yeah. And also Stuart Little. Oh, yeah. Well, it was just about to reach Stuart Little 2 levels.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we'll hit Stuart Little 1, unfortunately.
No.
That thing's a bloody monolith.
Stuart Little, more like Stuart Long.
So, where do you think is Stuart Little a good franchise?
No.
Okay.
No. It's, I think the sheer dog shit of Call of the Wild.
Yeah.
It drags down any good faith that is built up in the first two. I reckon this is below the Nymphomaniac.
Is it below the Karate Kid?
I think the Karate Kid's probably better.
Okay. Is it better than Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
No.
Is it better than Rambo: First Blood?
Yes. Okay, cool. This is number 95.
Okay, cool. This is number 95. So only 2
Is
below
that
the
where
Karate
people
Kid.
thought it was going to be?
All right, and I have hit
Nice.
save this time for those playing along
Okay,
at home.
alright, okay. Well, Richard, there's only one thing we got to do now, right?
Yes.
Great. What is it?
We've got to reveal the next franchise.
Yeah, so if this is your first time listening to the film franchise Fortnights, we decide our next franchise by doing one of 2 things. The thing we're not doing this week is we draw a random number from a franchise list, but this is a Patreon week, which means that if you go over to patreon.com/cultpopture, every month we let you choose one of the franchises that we cover that month. For only $1, people are welcome to suggest and vote on which franchise we're doing next. It gets very heated in the Discord. People have
Died.
lost friendships. Friendships have broken up because of this, how heated these debates can get, and I hope they will continue to break up as we traverse into our next franchise. Richard, what has the most votes on Patreon?
So there was a 3 or 4 way tie for a long time today. People were debating long and hard, but the winner by 1 vote is dun 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 dun.
Sorry, I hold my breath for too long.
Men in Black.
Men in Black. Now this is a franchise. This is like what? How did you describe Stuart Little before? Like missing from the catalog. Oh, he's actually human. That just looks like a mouse. Men in Black. This is 4 films.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Men in Black, Men in Black 2, Men in Black 3, Men in Black International.
Yeah, I've never seen the
one.
3rd one, but yeah, interesting.
You've never seen the 3rd one?
4th one, sorry.
Ah, right. I was going to say. Well, you're in for a treat. I've also never seen it. I presume it's just as good as
yeah,
3.
I mean, I have no reason to believe it wouldn't be.
So tune in next fortnight for Men in Black. Next week, we're going to be doing a meeting of the elders. So if you've got thoughts on the previous 3 podcast episodes, sign up to the Occult Elders tier on our Patreon, and you can have your voice heard aloud in an episode. And otherwise, other reasons to sign up to the Patreon. You get to listen to 2 extra podcasts a month. You get to tell us what movies to watch. You get to be a part of the post-credit scene, which is coming at you after this music ends. And if you're too poor to sign up to the Patreon, get a new job. Just stop being poor. One way to support us, though, without money, is you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at cultpopture, or Twitter, I should say. We're not on Threads yet. Or you can join the Discord, which there is a link to in the show notes. I would highly recommend joining the Discord if you've been listening for a while, because over there you can talk directly to me. You can tell me whether or not you think bestiality is wrong because of the biological thing or because of the consent thing. I imagine this will take up a lot of the discussion thread for the Stuart Little episode, to be honest. And very few people will actually be talking about the movies. But them's the breaks. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Little hi, little ho!
Little good, little bye.
Little bye, little man, little guy that looks like a mouse, but is not.
Little guy.
Welcome along to the post-credits scene. This is a segment at the end of each episode. If you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to give us something to talk about in this, the post-credits scene. Richard, who's it from and what is it?
This one comes to us from Dylan Hutton, who says...
Yes! Dylan!
I like Jack and Daxter, and I know you guys do too. Can you do a mini
Yes!
pitch for a J&D movie? Stars, director, what game you'd adapt, etc. I can tell you right now, Dylan, not sure where you got the idea that I'm a fan of Jack and Daxter. I am not.
And Dylan, I'm sorry to say, I was very much into Jack and Daxter as a preteen. And upon revisiting it as an adult and watching a few like Jack and Daxter focus channels, I had this realization where I was like, I don't think I like the series anymore. So if I'm making a movie, I'm going to call it Jack and Daxter and not just ditch one of the main characters from the title for some reason. And I'm probably going to base it on the first film and not the
Why are you going to base it on the
sequels.
first film?
Yeah, on the first game. The first film ever, the round garden scene.
I'm going to base it on the birth of a nation.
On the steam train arriving,
Yeah.
but it's going to be like one of those anti-gravity vehicles in Jack and Dexter.
My experience with Jack and Dexter is that I just never played it growing up. The way that I had my consoles just meant that like those PS2 exclusive, I just never had the chance to play. And then because AJ wouldn't fucking shut up about it for years, during lockdown I got 1 to 3 and X on the PlayStation Store, and I played through 1, quite enjoyed it. I thought, oh yeah, like this is actually the midway point between Crash and Uncharted for Naughty Dog. And then I think I just like finished the thing, but I didn't go back and get all the collectibles. And then, but AJ was like, oh bro, like Second Game is one of the best games ever made. You have to play it. And then I played it, fucking hated it. I thought it was such an infuriating game. I played through a few hours of it, not really liking it, and then there was one level where it was like, because the game fucked up, like because of poor game design.
This is classic Jack.
I was like bumped back to, like 20 or 30 minutes of work, and then was just like, well, I can't be bothered doing that again right now, so I have to wait until I've forgotten how annoying it already was to get to that point.
Yeah, and I want to translate, because that's classic Jack and Dexter, I want to translate that into the film adaptation. So an hour and 14 minutes into the film, into this 2.5 hour film, it's just going to jump back 15 minutes, and you have to re-watch.
But to answer Dylan's question earnestly, what
I refuse.
Stars, director, etc.
Okay, star.
Because Tom Holland has said he'd like to do a Jack and Dexter movie.
It's too obvious to get Tom Holland. We gotta get one of these like Nickelodeon kids. Right. This can be their breakout. Right?
Dylan Hutton. And then who would voice?
Congratulations.
Who would voice Dexter?
Okay, there's an expectation to cast like, I'd almost say Nathan Lane might be a good voice for Dexter because they sound pretty similar. Okay. But I reckon we, just like the another Naughty Dog franchise, the Uncharted movie before it, I think we cast Mark Wahlberg as Dexter.
Hey, turn it into an
voice of Dexter. Very good, Richard. You do know the series. I wish there was a Jack and Dexter quote that was iconic enough that I could just say in a Mark Wahlberg impression. But that game has those games have sunk into the recesses of gaming history.
Wow,
I think the only people that deeply care about Jack and Dexter are the people that deeply care about Jack and Dexter.
Yeah. And I think that, and then for director, you get James Mangold to direct it, don't tie it to any existing cinematic universe, and just watch the box office pile up.
The box office pile up, yeah.